The most important thing of not just podcasting, but anything marketing related is what is your goal and how will we know if this is successful? A podcast, you have to go into it, whether you're a business or not a business. You have to think about what is my goal? What am I actually trying to do here? But we help you figure out that system, and then we're going to set up this 5-step process. Marketing people have to do so much. So we want our interaction to be like really easy and help you make your podcast come to life and make sure the podcast is working for you, not you working for the podcast.
That was Clark Buckner, co-founder of Relationary Marketing, a Nashville-based podcast production agency that helps brands, businesses, and individuals create meaningful, strategic content. Clark's journey into podcasting began as a student at Belmont University, where he saw the potential for capturing and preserving meaningful conversations to help nurture relationships through the power of audio. More than 10 years later, he's a key figure in Nashville's podcasting community, helping grow the Nashville Podcasters Meetup, which is now one of the largest regularly meeting podcast communities in the country. In this episode, Clark shares how he turned his passion for podcasting into a career, the importance of setting clear goals for your content, and why he believes podcasting is one of the most intimate and impactful mediums. From podcasting at live events and trade shows to working with global brands, Clark's insights will demonstrate how to successfully use this powerful tool to build an effective content marketing strategy. Clark Buckner, welcome to Artisanal Insights.
Carla, I am so happy to be hanging out. I always enjoy our time together. This is such a cool project, a cool podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you.
This is fun because I feel like I'm turning the tables on you a little bit because you have interviewed me, I don't know how many times over the course of the long time that we've known each other. And what I think is interesting is like everybody in Nashville knows you, but you're not one to take the spotlight. So I'm not sure how many people like actually know you. Like, which is interesting. Like, it's kind of like you live like dual
mystery.
life.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
a
like
man
in the
of
shadows.
Mystery. You are a man of mystery.
Man of mystery. Oh, wow. Well, I feel like I've been hanging around. I've been just loitering. And I've been lurking, and they've not told me to leave yet. So
That's hilarious.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Yes. I was trying to figure out when we first met. So 2012, 2013, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
We were definitely working on a bar camp or a pod camp, something like that. And you were still just a kiddo. You were still at Belmont as a student, and you were already podcasting.
It was definitely before I think podcasting was cool. Like
you were
second
time. Yeah. Because like
you were in the OG, like 2005 is when this started.
Right. Yeah. No, I wasn't fully OG. Like
you were early.
Well, we started in 2012 when we started our college football podcast, which is my other show. So you were podcasting at Belmont about the time that we started that college football podcast, right as like we were kind of like in that dip. Like podcasting was really cool from 2005 to 2009. And then there was like nobody did it for a while. And then it started eking back in like 2012. And now we joke that go to a networking event and everybody has a podcast. But like what drew you to that medium, even as a student?
So to keep the story really short, as a student, was like, I really like this like interesting marketing stuff and like thinking about how marketing intersects with philosophy and computer tech, all these kinds of things. So I started looking for podcasts. I just feel like it's a different type of medium I felt at that time than just reading a blog post or watching a video. Yeah. It was like that, you can't get any closer to someone than right here in their headphones or when someone's listening. It's a different experience. That experience of seeing how a podcast, that long form medium, feeling that, that connection, that it was like, I felt like this is really special. And so then I started a podcast around entrepreneurship. Being a senior, I called it ETP Cast because ETP was the acronym for when you go into Class Finder to make your classes for entrepreneurship. That was my major at Belmont. And so the idea was when we have all these great speakers who would come to Belmont and share all these great things, they would share, talk to the audience, and then boom, they leave, and then that content just poof, it's gone. So the idea was, let's do an interview after your talk, do a podcast, save it. And so that's been the thing all along. And it was through that experience, meeting people, growing the connections, and I've just kind of only been doing that ever since.
I've heard a number of people say this, that podcasting is one of the most intimate mediums because of the way that, like, really, it lives rent-free in your head. And why I've grown to love it so much as well is, like, just the way that it lends itself to think carefully about your words and like realizing that people are listening to you, not just watching you. And there's a whole world around that.
There's a whole world around that. And the human voice,
Yes.
that is extremely sacred and intimate. Just the voice. And you are a singer.
Yes.
I'm not a singer.
Amateur, but yes.
But you're a choir. You're in the choir, right? You're
I am.
singing.
Yes.
And even that is like that instrument, right? It's
Right.
just so special. And so I think that has always been really different with podcasts too. And of course, there's also the accessibility, the passive consumption. Combine that with the intimacy, I think that is a recipe for connection.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I don't remember the exact date when we met, but I do remember one date in particular, and that's 2014. Okay. I'm going to take you on a trip down memory lane here because you'll
Where are we
remember
going?
as we go here. Okay. 2014 was the year that I chaired PodCamp. Okay. And leading up to that PodCamp, I think it might have been part of the ETP cast, maybe, or maybe it was something else. I don't remember. But you did a podcast episode that had 3 separate interviews on it. And it was Chris Brogan, Dave Delaney, and me.
Okay.
That you
Yep.
interviewed all 3 of us separately. And the funny thing about that was that I didn't hear anybody else's interview. So I didn't hear Chris's interview. I didn't hear Dave's interview until you released the thing out into the world. And in that interview, that was the podcast where Chris Rogan kind of subtly mentions that like the whole model of PodCamp needs to change and kind of hinted at the idea that Nashville was going to be the city to do it. So I kind of joke that like, it's kind of your fault that I'm doing this.
Oh, man, that's where this is. Okay.
No.
It's incredible how there's been so many, like 10 years ago, like it's amazing the seeds that were being planted and stuff like that and stuff like people who've been like the first wave with Chris, what Chris was doing and what Dave was doing, and then what you helped bring to a whole new level, in my opinion. It's incredible how these little moments will just grow. And you have been curating that.
Yeah, trying to
This
anyway.
is a thankless job.
Well, thank you,
thank
because
you
it
for
is.
what you're doing.
Yes, it's a lot of work. But I think it was an important conversation. And because of the whole podcasting medium, it's like we actually have record of this stuff now, which is really cool. Like it's not just these conversations where we can actually go back and say, no, remember when? And usually it's like, oh yeah, there was a podcast about that. Because that's something cool about this community and what you've brought to the table as well is like recording a lot of this stuff. Which brings me to like, okay, this is what you do now for a living, right? Is that you turn this passion into a career, which is like living the dream. So can you talk a little bit about like how relationary marketing came into being?
Yes, relationary marketing. Relationary, it's a made-up word.
Totally.
And a lot of people will say revolutionary or whatever. Relationary. And think of relationship. And so the way it came together, 2015, okay? So this is about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. 10 years ago, I was about to kind of start maybe thinking about just being like an independent, like, oh, I can maybe do some consulting and help companies make podcasts. And at this point, someone who I had met at these events, this guy named Chuck Bryant, he was saying, hey, what if we kind of built an agency around what you're doing instead of just you doing it on your own? At the time, there's a couple clients, Nashville Entrepreneur Center, Nashville Software School. There's a local conference in town. And it has just been, we've been doing that ever since. And so we were across the street from here, had the little napkin scratch idea, like, oh, we can maybe do it like this, do it like that. And it's just been Chuck and I, starting from the beginning, my ride or die.
Yeah.
We're both very different in different ways, but it's always been a fun partnership.
Yeah.
It truly is a partnership. So we started Relationary with that idea of you can create strategic content that connects. And what that means is you can use podcasting for a business. All right. It creates, not only is it about the podcast, but you get a blog post from that. You get all this SEO rich content. You can use it to nurture wonderful people, highlight certain things. And it's just, it's part of the content marketing. It's always been focused around the bigger picture. I think podcasting on its own, anything on its own, isn't going to probably truly move the needle. It all needs to be working together. So that's always been the approach. And using that at conferences, events, in the studio, all of that. And so we've just been steadily doing that. And I've been continuing to be part of the EC team. It's just kind of staying slow and steady, just like a good podcast.
Also true. Yes.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, I just want to make a podcast, and they might make it a couple episodes and they're done.
Right.
Consistency, long-term. And so it's been a wonderful ride, and I'm so grateful that we get to work with you and other folks still.
What kinds of podcasts does Relationary really excel in? What's the format that you tend to work in?
Early on, we would often say we're more in the B2B, right? The business to business podcasting space. And really we've always been oriented toward trying to think about how do we do this with businesses.
Yeah.
I believe we do a really great job as an agency providing a turnkey solution. And a lot of people love talking to me about podcasting. Like, oh, I've got an idea. I love talking to people about podcasts. But I will always tell them, like, look, you can work with an independent editor and like you can still rock on. Totally fine. The advantage of what we do and what we excel at is helping work with a business, a nonprofit, a company, and we still work with individuals too, but we're going to help take you through what I call my 5 steps to podcast production. And we're really good at helping you build that content design, helping you think about the most important thing of not just podcasting, but anything marketing related is what is your goal and how will we know if this is successful?
Yep.
A podcast, you have to go into it, whether you're a business or not a business. You have to think about what is my goal? What am I actually trying to do here? But we help you figure out that system. And then we're going to set up this 5-step process. You've got your invite, get those guests invited. Who you invite on the show matters.
Right.
Part of also the shareability of it. You get the relationship nurture of it. We want to make sure all that is thoughtful. The recording, whether that we're in a studio, virtual, there's a lot of options. We want to make sure we get the best quality capture we can. The post-production, I like our style of, not to get too woo-woo here, but I like to preserve the breath, preserve some of the some of the things that are natural. I think we more times connect with imperfections of people. And of course, making it really easy for publishing and getting it ready for that busy team member at a company. Marketing people have to do so much. So we want our interaction to be like really easy and help you make your podcast come to life and make sure the podcast is working for you, not you working for the podcast.
Right. No, that's a really good point. Understanding what your goal is from the outset is going to make you more successful to begin with, but then also understanding who is it for, right?
The audience is so smart. And that's another good reminder. I like to think of this as 3 people, me, Carla, and you, our listener. And what's really unique about a podcast is it's different than just watching a video, right? It's the percentage of a consumption of a podcast is so much longer.
Yeah.
And that is always working for this medium. Now, there's new things we need to be thinking about, short form content, visuals, all that. I get it. But there's still that core thing of the podcast format.
Right. And I think something else that's different that you all do is the concept of like, you literally take the show on the road. You're willing to travel to go do things like on location, which I love, which I'm not going to lie. I've used it a number of times, podcasted live at some of our events. I mean, it's the reason why we've been able to do live podcasts at Content Economy. Can you talk about like some of the cool things you've gotten to do because you're traveling?
Yes, we'll travel for podcasts. We podcast on the road, conferences, trade shows. Think of this. So there are so many cool events out there that you get to travel to. And when you go to it, all the action, you're like, oh, this is fun. You want to go see the keynote. Usually the trade show floor is like you can swing by, visit it, and then you're out of there.
Yeah.
And so what's really unique about podcasting in the context of a trade show or a conference is being able to set up something that is like an experience. It's interactive. Mm-hmm. It looks so much better in a booth having, you get some soft seating. You get the boom arms, the mics, headphones, you got a couple lights. You can make it look really great with not a lot. And the advantage of it is it so beats the typical trade show booth with the bowl of candy. And when you're walking down the aisle of a trade show, you're like trying to avoid contact. You have all these like salespeople like waiting for you to walk by so they can talk to you. So the booth, it's a totally different approach because having a podcast presence inside a booth, it just naturally, you want to walk up and look at it and see, oh, this is kind of neat. Something's happening. You don't feel like everyone's watching you. You're watching the podcast happen. And that's just from an attendee walking by, creating buzz. Then the real magic and the reason we name this Relationary is because you can invite people, and this is all authentic. It is an authentic conversation, but you can also use it on, hey, maybe we want to invite a prospect.
Yep.
Maybe you want to invite an influential speaker at the conference. Maybe we want to invite a customer that we just love and we want to give them this moment to be seen and heard, which that's all we want in life.
Yeah.
And so I love how you can, based on the success of what your goals are, you can sort of orient it around any of that. So you get a really cool looking booth. You get people are loving it. And after this experience, they've had a great time because these are short, they're low stress. This is not live. And after the interview, they're like, oh, this is pretty cool. What do y'all do? Like, oh, let me introduce you to a salesperson here.
Right.
Who can have an authentic follow-up. It totally flips the model upside down, and it's a give to get versus like, hey, I want to take.
Yeah. I mean, even at, I think it was PodCamp.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was either PodCamp or the First Craft Content that you were set up like in the middle of one of the aisles. So it was very visible where you were podcasting. And like even that drew a crowd.
I love it. I think that is one of my favorite things that we do is it's probably less known
right.
of what we offer, but it is, I think, where the biggest value and really where relationary as a word we made up, it really becomes a real thing.
Yeah.
Not just an imaginary thing.
You're not always the host. There are other hosts, but you have gotten to do your fair share of hosting. So I am curious. This is a question that I always ask of anybody that I get the chance to sit down with and say, who's been your favorite interview?
Well, I'm just going to say, I don't know if I have a favorite, but I will say I will share my first. And my first ever interview is with Pamela Wilson.
Nice.
He was a wonderful friend.
Yes, friend of the show, friend of us.
And I remember I did a cold email as a student. I was like, oh, hey, I'm a student at Belmont, and I saw your course. Do you have like scholarships or do you ever give away like a student prize? And, oh, no problem. Thank you so much. I'm surprised you reached out here. Have a free copy of my digital course. And she said, by the way, my son, he's going to Belmont next year. And so it's just so funny. And she did not, and she, it's just a random stranger. And now later on, now she's at Belmont. She's doing a talk to students. I get to podcast interview with her. And there we were. It's just so fun to think back to the first just getting started, because the worst thing you can do is just have a dream of something you just want to try and never do it because you're afraid of what might happen. It's okay.
You're right. We have this fear. And I feel it more now as I'm getting older of like this fear of like not being perfect when you first start. That's interesting when it comes to podcasting, because I think we all think that like you got to have the good mics and you got to have, and yes, that does make a difference. I get it. But like, you don't have to. Like you can
That's
just,
a great point.
You can just start with what you have.
You're absolutely right. Now, again, you want to focus on quality. You want to always be improving. Yes, that is important. And there's some really easy things. And a real quick tip on that. Sometimes it's not just the microphone. A lot of times it's your environment.
Yeah.
If you have soft surfaces around you, and nowadays, come on, we have some great devices. The Mac mic standard on that is pretty good. Your iPhone, you got a lot of good options. Anyway, it's not as bad as it used to be. But my point is this. You have a message. Even if 10 people listen, that's okay. It grows as a long shelf life you need to be in for the long run. So as an encouragement, that's why I'm trying to say this. You don't need to be in some fancy environment for your voice to matter and to be received.
Yeah. Don't let the technology be the hang-up.
I think don't let that be the hang-up. Don't let the inner doubt. I mean, we are hard on ourselves, all of us, especially when you're creating something and putting it out in the world. And to add to that, putting your voice on something and putting that out in the world. We know how intimate the voice is. And remember, PSA, you won't like the sound of your own voice when you hear it recorded. There's a real scientific reason behind this.
Yes.
When you're talking, the vibration in your skull resonates in your body differently than when you listen to it. So just so that's out there. So yes, generally speaking, don't let that hang up. For a business, I would normally say, like, we want to make it professional. And there's some ways to do this that we provide to take that stress off with microphones, showing up, using the right tools. Another tip to help someone get started I like to offer is think of your season 1. Let's call it maybe 10 episodes, 12 episodes, 14. It doesn't really matter. We just use this as a tip because if you can think a little bit about a season 1, it helps you kind of wrap your arms around the tree to feel like, all right, I think it gives you a stopping point. Give yourself permission to stop once you've started off the hamster wheel.
Yes.
There's a tension there. It's not easy. So I think sometimes having community and people around you to encourage you can help.
That's a great segue, Clark. It's like you almost like do this for a living or something, because that's where I was heading. It is a great, to have people around you.
Well, you're the community queen.
Well, but so are you. Then that means you're the king, because we have this little thing called the Nashville Podcasters Meetup, which I like to slightly take credit for. It's not like it's all you're
Sure.
doing, but
Well-
like it was birthed out of the craft content
Oh,
movement.
yeah.
So do you want to share a little bit of the story as to like how NashPod came to be?
Yes. So 2017 or so, there's a few people in town who are like, hey, let's just start to get together. One of those people, Angus Nelson, he's moved away now, but he was one of these core people to say, hey,
Yes.
let's organize. And then at that point, I was like, hey guys, I work at the EC, which is a great place it's a nonprofit. We have event space. Event space is probably the most important part with the meetup.
Yep.
Dedicated space you can always be at. And so we started meeting here on the other side of this wall in a little room. And then over time, we moved to a bigger room. And just like a good podcast, staying consistent every month. And so I've been part of that since then. And just like the meetup model, I believe is so important in Nashville. No one owns it. No one makes money on it. 100% of the funds are organized back into the meetup. And so now, the last couple of years, Jessica and Faith, our two friends,
Yes.
it's the three of us, me, Jessica, and Faith. We all are the main organizers. And so what that looks like is we have at least each month, typically a topic, a presenter. We always provide food, free food. We never charge for tickets. Now we do actually give people a chance if you want to chip in.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, it's so funny. We had people chipping in.
Yeah.
Like $100. Like he's like, hey, I've been coming this for years. Like, thank goodness you're finally asking me to let me help. Anyway, and so just staying steady. Some months it's going to be smaller. Some months we'll do a lot bigger. But it would not be possible without Faith and Jessica and NashvillePodcasters.com. Add your name and email. And Facebook group, Nashville Podcasters. We're almost, we're probably around 2,000 members.
Which is crazy.
It's cool. And most of those are local. And what's nice about it is it just gives you that steady place
Yes.
to have.
If somebody was walking into a Nashville Podcasters meetup, which, by the way, it is free, right?
Always.
So when you walk in, you mentioned there's food, but like, what does the event generally look like for somebody that's never been a part of it?
Sure. You walk in. If I don't recognize you, I'll say hi. A good marketer loves, how'd you hear about us?
Right.
It's always good to get that qualitative, little data there.
Little data. Yep.
And then first 15 minutes, just kind of vibing, chilling out, hanging out, get the music going, have a NashPod playlist. We usually get the food, pizza, typically, have drinks, hanging out, name tag, welcome, presenter. 30 minutes or so we want to have someone prepare something to help the community. And then the rest, hang out, networking time, just community time. Take a group photo.
Yep.
Pack it up.
Nice.
Hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. And that happens once a month.
Every second Wednesday night of the month. And up to this point, we've always skipped December. I think December just gets so crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then usually the beginning of the year is a little bit slower, just kind of ramping up.
Right.
Defrosting.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's it's nice to have some people organizing. And again, no one owns it. I think that takes the agenda and the ego out of it too. Like I don't want to have something then to start to parlay it into like my own course or
Right.
I just don't. I'm not about it. Maybe some people would say that, but we don't do that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's why we're both as involved in community events as we are, because you can't create content in a vacuum. And like you need somebody else to bounce your ideas off of. The value in that is to be able to go talk to somebody that's doing something very similar to what you're doing and just feed off of each other and like, what are you doing? How can I make this better?
100%. And we need each other. Also, I think just like I've heard you talk so much wonderful things about community, we need the community. It's like this community that is sort of helping each other. And it's really cool to see people checking in on each other too. It is a valuable, wonderful thing when you look back on it. And I'm so glad we have a great space. I'm glad we have Faith and Jessica and kind of we're sort of sister groups to all the things you're doing.
Right.
It's very cool.
It's one of the things that out of all the stuff that the community has done in Nashville, it's one of the things that like it's sustained. I think it goes back to the idea that podcasting is such an intimate medium that like this is the group that has made it all the way through, even with the pandemic and all of the things. Like a lot of meetups have fallen away because that's just what happens, right?
You're
We
right.
cycle. But the NashPod meetup is still just as strong as ever. If I was going to take my own craft content artisanal insights questionnaire, I would say that NashPod is a hidden gem in
Ooh.
Nashville that not enough content creators are pursuing. So with that, there's a segue for you into it's your turn to take the Artisanal Insights questionnaire. Are you ready? We need music.
Yeah.
We should work on that.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Like some I like that. I can feel it.
We need like a bump music there or something. We'll figure it out.
Let's add it in. Maybe we'll add it in. Well, yeah,
You might know somebody that could help me with that. Anywho. Okay, so first question. Who is a local creator or creative that we should all be following?
There's so many great choices. And I'm kind of like the anti-influencer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I will say these people are really sweet though. And I got connected to them. They were doing a podcast.
Of course.
And somehow I got connected to them and I helped them do a couple of things. They didn't need me, but I was able to help them do some stuff. And I got to know them. And I've always been like the anti-influencer, like these people, who are these people? And I think a lot of people are like, I'm skeptical. I'm a natural skeptic. But Sean Johnson and Andrew East, they're a family.
Yes.
They're really good people. I think Sean and Andrew, I think they're doing it right as far as like what the modern day allows to do. And now there's a good team behind them too.
Right.
They're building a business around it and like having other creators. They're doing a good job. They're local in Nashville and they do care about the community. They're showing up in those ways. So I would probably be like, you know what? I like what you're doing, y'all. And I think it's an interesting way to do that. So other than that, I'm not a huge influencers person out there, but I like them a lot.
Nice. Okay, so mark that one down if you're not already following them. Second question, what is a hidden gem in Nashville or Middle Tennessee that we as locals tend to take for granted?
Hidden gem. Wow. You know, I think those hidden gems are becoming more valuable than ever in a city growing like Nashville, right?
I agree, yeah.
Wow.
Those old spaces that we used to go to aren't here anymore.
Yeah, things
which is weird.
change, right? A hidden gem. I'll say this. I like indoor plants now. That's become one of my hobbies. And so one, plug Gardens of Babylon.
Okay.
I really like them. I've known them for a couple of years, and they actually, over the years, they would hook me up with a plant for each of my students. So I like the local, support your local plant shop.
Nice. That's a great recommendation. Final question. What is your favorite coffee order in Nashville?
Favorite coffee order? I'm going with a basic oat milk latte. Typically hot.
Nice.
Sometimes iced, but usually, and now, you know what? I'll plug this too. In our neighborhood, we live in the Nations. We love it over there. And most days we are going to this is not a sponsor, but they are a sponsor of Content Economy, is our local White Bison.
Nice.
Twice daily.
Love it.
I know. I love the folks in there.
Nice.
And it's cool to see them. So yes, that's my favorite spot as far as like getting coffee to go. And then of course, we get Pinewood, Cremo, some good spots. And inside the EC, get our coffee here. I always bring my creamer, my oat milk creamer.
Nice. Awesome. So since you are so elusive, where can people follow you?
Elusive. Just search Clark Buckner, and I'm going to be there. Yep. And also sleeping on the bench over there is a cute little dog named Sassy Pup. And she does have an Instagram too.
Yes, she does.
And it's spelled sassy like software as a service.
Yes.
Sassy Pup. And the first night we had her, we got little Sassy. We walked up the road to what I believe was maybe a bar camp meetup, or it was a planning thing. I remember it was at
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember
over
that night.
There, and we had a little baby pup.
You got a baby puppy. Yep.
That's little Sassy.
That was Sassy, and now Sassy is the unofficial mascot of everything that we do in Nashville.
I work so she can have a better life.
Well, Clark, this was a ton of fun. Thanks so much for indulging me with this interview today.
No, me too. I was so honored, and I am forever a Carla Swank Fox fanboy. And I so appreciate you. I so appreciate Nashville, the people I met along the way at these events, and it's a special place. So many of these wonderful people, they're here.
Yes.
Net positive all day.
Yep. Here's the community. Thanks, Clark. Thanks for listening. Get involved and stay connected with our creative community at craftcontentnashville.org. You can join our conversations on Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. And if you enjoyed this content, please subscribe or follow, rate and review, and of course, share Artisanal Insights wherever you get your audio content. Now go forth and craft content. We'll talk with you again soon.